Look, I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you, if you were playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Look, see we vibing and you know it's true. Baby, what it do? Do for me and I'ma do for you, no doubt about it. Boo, see I'm a Midwest king, looking for myself a queen. Ready to chase a dream with a dope self-esteem. You finer than all I know and that's for real. You get to shaking that ass on the floor and I see what's real. No disrespect, I just tell it like it is. Do you ever want some kids? What your ultimate goals? Maybe I can help with those. The mo was broke when he made you a blessing. You looking like a whole buffet and I need some seconds. You say you have promiscuous ways, that was back in the day. I'll be alive, I say I did it, that shit was a phase. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you, if you were playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Lady, you so far ahead of these others, just like a ship on the horizon. Picking up on your vibe, signal stronger than Verizon. All the thoughts that I've been contemplating, ain't no time for faking or debating. You the one, ain't no mistaking. Look, I see you swag different. Always carry yourself like you ready, you know the mission. I had to know you, I'm 10. I can see why you timid. Hold up now, baby, listen. Just take that dance with me, I can show you that there's a difference. I'm locked in. I throw away my playaways because you pop in. A shooter always shoot a shot. With you by my side, I guarantee we'll reach the top. I put that on God and then I give you all that I got. So baby, take this journey with me. You can pick the time and place, this nigga isn't picky. Smile on your face, I know the deal. Sign and deliver after seal. I can see it in her eyes, this one right here for real. I just wanna have a conversation. No, I'm not your type of baby, listen, I'm just saying. We can rule the world, just me and you, if you were playing. Won't you take a chance with me and have that conversation? I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk, yeah. I just wanna have that conversation with you. Come and talk to me.
Welcome to the Behind Right. Yeah, you living for real. Living for real, right? Back then. So that's dope. I'm assuming the Game Gear baseball game you played was probably like World Series baseball, possibly, maybe. I mean, but yeah, I was gonna say, but if you don't remember, that's not gonna help. Right. So but Sega Game Gear, one of my favorite handhelds, super dope. The backlight on it, you play it in at night, which is very special, because you could not do that with Game Boys. So that was really nice. But the NES, definitely a fire console. Historic even. Had a lot of big games on there. Excite Bike, definitely a big one of some of those games. Mario 3, fire as well. The original Mario, definitely. Mario 2 was something else. That was a little something weird. But I enjoyed that game too. Okay. All right. So you got some got a little bit of flavor right there. I feel you. I feel you. All right. So let's go on ahead and ask now from the NES, because I mean I like to I like to say, when people tell me that they started off on like a console, handheld, or whatever, I usually call that like the appetizer, right? Because that was like your introduction into it, and you're just like, oh, this is nice, this is real dope. What was the thing that kind of took your breath away in gaming? Like the next, like whether it was like the next generation or a few generations down or whatever. Because I understand we're kids, we're not thinking about generations, right? We're just like, that looks cool, I want to play it. So like, as for you, what was that kind of eye-opening moment in gaming? Like like a little bit after you first got into it. I don't actually. Nuh-uh. Wow. Oh, snap. Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, "Okay, smartass, if you think you can handle it, why don't you beat it then?" "Sure, well, let me go about my business." So I sat down on the couch next to her, and she handed me the controller. I just played her save file or whatever. Struggled a little bit on the 3 parties of 6 people because I'd never played this game before, no idea what I was doing. But the one-on-one duel is a rock paper scissors based, so you have to watch what the person says. So like, if he
Damn.
says, "Og, I'm gonna kill you," it's like he's gonna go for like final death blow type stuff, and defend would beat death blow, attack would beat defend, and death blow would beat attack. So I end up beating this guy first try, and she's like, "You MFer." I said,
All
I
right, that's
told you I could
powerful
beat it,
right
Mom.
there.
And this
So
game
that
I'm
was
alluding
very
to, my
specific. I
favorite
love
game of all
how
time,
you had the
known
memories
as
that went
Suikoden
with
2. It's
that.
an old school JRPG
Saying,
from Konami. If you
pretty
see
much
my
telling your
work,
mama to
I write
get
about
good,
Suikoden all the
right?
time. Absolutely love the
I
game.
mean, that's
That is my
I mean, that's something to remember
oh
right there.
shit
That's pretty
moment.
dope.
Gaming
So
is for Chris.
going through that time, so I'm guessing you ended up owning and having a PlayStation at home, correct? Nice. So you named that game as being one of your favorites. What were some of the other big deals during that time period for you?
At some point, I did. It's not the first console I purchased with my own money, but at some point, they end up getting me a PlayStation. Yeah. Oh man, specifically during that time period, I'd have to say Suikoden 2 and 1 because obviously 1
Yeah,
came
I
out
remember
first. I
Croc.
just happened to play the second one first, and those are my 2 favorite games of all
Yeah,
time.
you're literally a
They tried
crocodile. You're
to,
like a baby
for
croc
some
kind of
reason, I
thing.
don't know why. I never asked my mom this. They tried to steer me away from those types of games. I don't know why. So like, I'd end up getting games like Croc, which is a platformer. I don't know if you remember Croc, but it's kind of like Spyro. It's kind of like Spyro or whatever. And I'm like, what is this?
Yes, the game day,
This
game
isn't what I
breaker,
played. And
the
my
live
cousin,
games as
who I was super
well.
close with, who passed
We're
away
pretty
last
dope
year,
back then.
we grew up
Oh,
kind of competing. He'd get something. Well, Chris needs that now. And so we definitely went at it on sports games back in the day, game days, football games. So SmackDown 1, SmackDown 2, know your role. That was mine and my uncle saying all the time. I've broken back then. I had a short fuse when it came specifically to wrestling games with my uncle because he was always better than me. And I played a lot of sports when I was younger.
he ain't give
and
you
I was a
5
dirty
finishers in a
player.
row, did
I
he?
had a bad attitude. I was super competitive. So like my uncle always just
So you
stomping
just
the
get
hell out of me at
dominated.
SmackDown would always irritate me. We'd create wrestlers and he'd still stomp the hell out of my guy. So I'd say probably the SmackDown games would be the next biggest ones besides game day. Probably more than that because I didn't know how to reverse or nothing.
Yep.
I was terrible. I'm like, well, I'm just going to use the Rock, and he'd be like, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
my
yeah.
uncle's
That's why I
favorite Stone
asked
Cold
because it
Steve
was
Austin
so
always
easy to
has
do
been.
specials in that
And
game. It was like
we'll talk
L1
about
as
that
soon
later on
as
in one of your further
like that,
questions about wrestling and stuff.
get
But
those like
he
4 or
just
5 like little
it'd be
star things,
stunner
those like
after
little yellow
stunner after
stars,
stunner.
and you
I'd get
can
up, I hit him with a
just
weapon a couple
rock your
times,
opponent.
face 5
Sometimes
more stunners from
like
my
most of the
uncle,
time when I
just
played that
beat
game, I
my
remember doing
ass.
like the career modes and stuff like that, and I'd literally just save up a ton of those special moves, and I'd literally do them back to back to back to back to back, and then pin them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did that really well as well with like the 64 versions of
And it was
like
2-player, which we don't get to
WrestleMania
see much in wrestling
and
games nowadays. You can
like
play
No
2-player,
Mercy
you
and
can
stuff
be
like that. So
tag
like
team
the
champions with the
wrestling
person you're
games
playing
back
with.
then
You
were
guys,
just built
one
different,
person would
like flat out.
obviously
They
fight for
were
the world
just
title or
built
whatever. So
different.
2-player
Really fun
is a lot we don't
arcade
get to see in
style
wrestling games
kind of
nowadays
games
either.
that made you think as a kid that this is simulation, but it was very arcade, very much so. But all right, so the PlayStation was something
Yeah.
that was big for you
Definitely.
at a time in your life. But then moving a little bit further down, so now you're starting to get a little bit older, right? You know, you're in a different type of school now. Maybe now
Definitely.
you're in middle school or something, right? What are you playing at that point?
Oh,
Are
yeah.
you even gaming?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I've from Sega Game Gear and regular Nintendo, like I never like stopped gaming, but it wasn't a primary hobby. I played baseball for 9 years, so that took up a lot of my
looks like a
time.
car amp.
And my gaming history is a little weird because like one time it was one year I got the Sega Genesis for Christmas. And then after I had the Sega for a while, my dad found an Atari 2600 at a rummage sale. And he brought me this Atari. I'm like, what is this? what am I supposed to do with that?
Man, you got
Like,
some memories going on right there.
Yeah,
You got
so
some
I've
memories
had experiences with all the consoles, but I'd say probably the next two really important ones, definitely the Game Boy Color, Barry. And I would not have it if kids at school told me my Game Boy was pink. We were fighting. It was berry colored. It was red. That's why I bought it. Oh, I got a good memory. But I saved up
Shout
all my
out to
birthday money.
moms. That's what's
It
up.
was like 1 or 2 years, didn't spend any of it. Saved up my birthday money, and I bought my first purchase was the berry colored Game Boy Color. And so my stepmom's like, well, since you bought a Game Boy, I don't want you not to have a game. Since you bought it yourself, we'll buy you Pokemon Yellow. So that was the next. Oh yeah. So that was the next big thing. And let me tell you, if Chris wasn't the worst Pokemon trainer, everybody talks crap about Ash for not beating the Pokemon League for like whatever it was, 26 years. I couldn't beat Brock for like 5 months. I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? Well,
going
apparently
insane
I
trying to do the same thing over and over. And
rocks are immune to Pikachu's Thundershock back in the day. So I struggled for 5 or 6 months, about smashed my Game Boy. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And then finally I just tried something different. I'm like, I'm an idiot. It was just easy after that. But the next
really so let me pause you real quick right there, because you come from having the PlayStation.
But the next biggest thing, probably my favorite.
What
Christmas
was so
memory,
attractive?
So kind of fast forward a little bit
to say, no, I don't want the PlayStation 2. I want the
2 or 3. I can't remember what year it was, but the only thing I wanted for Christmas was an Xbox, OG Xbox. I said,
here we go.
Yes. Well, I did. Don't get me wrong. That same year for Christmas, I happened to get
you
a
living lavish.
PS2 and a Game Boy Advance or something like that, or maybe it was the year before. But my real mom, and my uncle, the uncle that used to beat me at wrestling, they had bought me a Game Boy Advance and PS2, and then flipped the other side. My dad and my stepmom. All I wanted for Christmas.
Oh, so you had the FOMO.
Like I told my
mom,
my uncle, my dad, like, you guys need to get along. I don't want nothing from no other family members. Like, I already got all this other stuff, the PS2 or whatever. And my cousin, I told you that we were always competing. He already had an Xbox. He got Xbox right after release. So oh yeah, it was a lot worse back in the day for sure. So like I played Halo and stuff on his Xbox before I even understood like the importance that Halo
Socks and
was. Like
shit.
I shooting aliens, but I'm like, I gotta have an Xbox, man. And only thing I wanted, I wrote a Christmas list just like my brother did, and I ended up getting all these Christmas presents. The kids always get clothes. They don't like that. Stocking stuffers, beanbag
You looked
chair,
right
whatever
past
else
the
I got.
bike.
And then my dad's like, well, I think there's 2 more presents in the other room. I think Santa left the 2 other presents in the other room. So
Oh, snap.
he goes in the other room, comes back out on this bike. And I knew the bike was my brother's instantly because that's what my brother wanted. I knew the bike was his. So I'm like, this big box got to be mine, right? And I'm telling you, this big box is this big box is not Xbox size by any means.
Oh,
Like
come on, bro.
I'd say like
Oh,
a little bit
petty.
bigger than mini fridge box style. So I'm like, what is that? And he's like, oh, these last 2 presents are for Chase, which is my brother. I'm like, oh, I'm mad. I'm hot. I told you I had a bad attitude when I was a kid. How am I going to mess up my brother's bike? Like,
Dissipated.
I'm cutting tires. I'm messing up his Christmas, man. If I was something else as a kid, man. And so he's like, oh, my bad. I read it wrong. It's actually Chris, not Chase. So kind of the thoughts of messing up my brother's bike left my mind for a second. Open this box. Yeah. Open this box.
Yes, sir.
This big
Yes,
blanket.
sir.
It's heavy blanket. Like this box was super heavy. Like my dad had to help me set it on the floor. Pull this blanket out. I'm like getting all this stuff out of the box. And in the bottom of the box sits an Xbox.
This man had
that had
bloodshot
GT
eyes.
2002 and Jet Set Radio of the Future. And this was
Sega
on
GT
Christmas
was that
Eve
shit, man.
because we had a big family Christmas coming over early to meet people's schedules. So
did you
we weren't
take
going to be
advantage
able to do
of
the
listening to
normal Santa
music
thing
and
so we
stuff
did
like
all
that
of
on there?
Christmas Eve. So I stayed up all night, 24 hours straight.
Let's
playing nothing
go.
but GT 2002 and Jet Set Radio of the Future. But around that same time, I had to. Yeah. Oh yeah, I got a small story for that too. So I will say I did have the PS2 and I still played games on there. I will say throughout the PS2 time, my dad never really understood the JRPG genre. So like when I'd be sitting for like 3-4 hours out of the day replaying Suikoden 2 for the 100th time, he never like understood like what was so interesting about that. So I think for a while, the games he would specifically buy, and he didn't buy me very many games. And now, as an adult, I understand why he only bought them so often. It'd be always like sports games, like try to steer me towards something like he could see societally normal, because that's something he never really experienced. And my dad only bought me so many games because he never wanted me to just like, oh, play this game for 5 minutes and go play this. Which now with Game Pass in this day and age, like there's so many people, not everybody.
Yeah, you wanted you to get the most value.
There's so many people that will play a game and then they don't finish it and go play another game and then go play another game. And my dad always wanted me to get the most out of Sonic 2 or Madden 2001 or whatever. He wanted me to be able to beat a game before I move on to the next game. I understand that now as an adult. Yeah, because he didn't want me to play a game for 5 minutes and go play something else. But to your ripping the music and CD, one of the games I'd say I probably put the most hours in, besides sports games, against my cousin, because we were competitive. We always played some type of music. We'd always NBA Live and Madden were our things. We'd always play. You pick one team, you get one trade. Doesn't matter who it is. So I'd always take T.O. T.O.'s my favorite football player all the time, Terrell Owens. And I'd always play at that time. It was like the Raiders, I think is what I was playing, because you had Rich Gannon, Tim Brown. I think Jerry Rice was on the Raiders at the time. So like I was unstoppable.
Jason Williams
basketball,
is
I kind of float around a lot. My favorite
I don't know
Bulls,
why anybody
obviously,
would clown on you for getting one of the best.
I'd always pick a small forward because I always somehow would pick
that
a team
man.
that didn't
The way
have a small
he could
forward.
pass the ball,
the truth,
was
Paul
just
Pierce or Shawn Marion.
Insane.
I'd get laughed at when I picked Jason Williams, White Chocolate. I loved Jason Williams.
No, you ain't.
Even
Oh, I mean, those moves. Bro was in. What wasn't he in and one and whatnot?
And I could never do it in the game. I was like, man, I want to do that elbow pass, and it just didn't exist at the time.
No, yeah, I'm
But
thinking
you
of
best
somebody
believe
else.
in
But
real life, I was trying to do it on
Jason
the
Williams, I
court
remember he
to
did
no
those like
success.
street ball type moves though and stuff like that.
I don't think Jason Williams was.
Yeah.
You might be thinking of the professor.
He's big time.
Oh yeah, he was like the first one that introduced that type of style. And I actually watched an interview that the professor, which is a big street ball person and doing great things nowadays, he actually had an interview with Jason Williams, and they talked about that.
Nah, man, he was on like
being the
the
introduction to the
Grizz
NBA,
and
those street
the
ball style
and the
moves, and
Kings
trying to
and
find
stuff like
his place in the
that.
league.
And,
And Jason Williams
he
would say
had
his place
decent
was being
teams,
different.
but he never had like
And
a star-studded
to some
you know,
success,
fleet
obviously,
of other
they didn't win
players
like
that were
massive
just
amounts of championships or
insanely
anything like
good.
that, but it
And
helped
I
him
mean,
stand
the
out from
Lakers
the
were
rest.
just hard to stop during that time period as well. Like you are not going to be the best team in California
Oh
during
yeah,
that period. Mhm. Oh my God! Oh, all right, we're friends. We are definitely friends because I tell you what, Conflict Desert Storm, Back to Baghdad, Conflict
but your question
Vietnam,
about
bro.
music, like I was saying, the one
Tell
game
me
that sticks out a lot.
that's actually
is
the
Conflict
first time I
Desert Storm.
experienced custom tracks. Was Conflict Desert Storm. My bro, like we started the game from the jump, and I had never played Xbox before, and he was like,
yeah,
because I had a PS2 at home, and he was trying to convince me
yeah,
to get an Xbox, and he was like, "Yo, man, you gotta check out this game right here," and I was like, "This game is on the PlayStation 2 as
Yeah.
well, like, so?" And he was like, "No, man, but check this out." We were running in the sand, and he just pauses the game, goes to the music, switches over to custom tracks, and I'm like, "What does that mean?" And then I hear Tupac Better Days. And I'm like, yo, I got this CD. I was like, yo, like looking at his like stereo system, like wondering, like, it just says the time on there. Like what's going on here? Like, what's happening? He's like, this is all running through the Xbox. I was like, no way, because I was that kid at home that would plug the yellow, the video cable in, the left sound in, and then take the right sound from like a stereo player and plug that in. So then I'm getting the music through the TV. But the Xbox was like, you ain't even got to do that, bruh. You ain't got to do that no more. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I played Desert Storm, and my CD of choice back then was 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. Can't tell you how many times running through Desert Storm, playing If I Can't Do It, Homie, It Can't Be Done. Throughout the whole Desert Storm game, on repeat.
It's just called Raw. I remember.
And another
that one,
big thing is I started backyard wrestling in 1996, which we'll get to one of your later questions. I mentioned wrestling again. So obviously I was big into wrestling my entire life to this day. There's a game called Raw on Xbox. And one of the big things you could do is create an entrance, and like it's full entrance, music, video package, whatever. And I can't tell you how many times I create myself and my friends, because we were backyard wrestling. I'd have like the exact same entrance. My music would kick in. The stuff that I got to experience on the original Xbox was just so dope. And then when I realized how like surround sounds, like extra technical stuff could be used with like video game consoles, my cousin, always competing with, I'd spend as much time with him as possible. There's actually a fun little story. There's actually one time my real mom made me so mad when I was living with her at one point in time. I went to my cousin's house his mom's house, and I stayed there for like the entire summer. And I refused to call my mom. I'd call her by her real name, and I would call she made me so mad. I'd call my uncle's mom. And in that time period, while staying there every day, I discovered Medal of Honor, and not just like play Medal of Honor. It's a good Army game or whatever, but Medal of Honor was surround sound. And when I tell you storming Normandy Beach, and you get in that bunker, and you have speakers by the TV playing the sound of what's going on in the bunker, but you have surround sound
Yeah,
speakers
man.
next
I
to
mean,
the
that thing
couch
was
or on the
packed
wall,
full of
and it's
power.
got the speakers of what's going on
At that
outside.
time, that Xbox
So like
was
it's that
tough.
full
It had really
technical
good
experience, and like
just everything about it.
this is what gaming
being
can
able
be.
to
Like,
rip
I just thought
music.
that
It had
at that point
high
was so cool to be
definition
able to experience all that
cables
surround sound.
that you could have for it. That had the Ethernet, thing built into it. It was just very much ahead of its time. And that's the reason that it's literally my favorite console of all time, because it like changed everything about gaming for me. It
Yep.
brought music into the picture. It brought internet into the picture. It brought, really fast load times. Internal storage was like extreme. Like it wasn't like no little bit of internal storage like the Saturn or something like that had, where it was like storage ran off of a battery. It was like for real, like you actually had a solid
Yep.
storage device in that sucker. And it felt endless, didn't it? Which is not the same story today. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
I can
so
honestly say I don't
the
remember.
original
I'm sure I
Xbox,
did at
you got a
one
lot
point
of
in time, but I
stories
don't
about
remember,
that,
like,
which
having to
are
delete
pretty
many
phenomenal.
save files
We
at
even
all
have
on the Xbox
one of the
at
same
all.
experiences, that being Conflict Desert Storm, which I mean, shout out to you, Chris, man. That's what's
True,
up
so
right
true.
there. Because you know firsthand, just like I did, how magical that felt to be able to be like, man, I'm walking through the sand, but I'm listening to my shit, right? Effortlessly. And I can,
Yep.
change. In some of the games, it made it hard to change songs and stuff like that. But like in a lot of games, as long as you go into like the dashboard of the Xbox and create your own playlist, then you can always just select that playlist and maybe hit random on it
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's going to play all the specific songs that you like. Because I was one of those people that would rip a whole bunch of CDs on it, and then I'd put each favorite song that I like from those CDs in its own separate playlist, so I could always just choose that playlist in like Grand Theft Auto or something like that, just so I'm not flipping through a bunch of tracks that I don't
Yeah.
want to listen to or don't care about. I can just kind of sit back and just let it ride. You know what I mean?
I was just a 50 Cent guy. Like anything 50 Cent played, I don't care if it was in the club, Wankster, 21 Questions, which fits no
What's the
video
first?
game. I'm listening to everything 50 Cent all the time, even
Ah,
sports
this is-
games.
You
Me and
know,
my cousin,
yeah,
my uncle,
goddamn,
and
man,
my,
you already know.
cousin's
I don't
mom's
even
boyfriend at the
know why I
time for
asked
many
such a
years.
silly question. I
We
should
were
knew the answer
all
already.
big
because
50 Cent people
that is
playing
the
NFL
GOAT.
Fever
It is. It really
2002.
is. I mean,
My second
did you mess
favorite
with the
football game
stadium
of all
music and
time,
stuff like that in
so.
the game?
First one's got to be 2K5 ESPN football. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
nothing
gotcha.
could come close to the
I'm being told I got
customized
kind of a
that you
delay.
could do for
I'm
that
sure my
game. Your own like
microphone
My
So,
favorite thing was
there we
like
go. I fixed it.
the house or
just
the
now,
mansion.
so
You
they're
got
getting
to
a
put like
different
trophies or
microphone
whatever in,
feed than
decorate. That's what
than
I
you
really
are, but
like.
hopefully it sounds
Nothing comes close
about the
to being able
same.
to customize.
You can let me know,
to
J
2K5.
Dab,
Best effort.
in the chat. Well, I kept it the same on Discord, but I had to switch it on my OBS. So hopefully the delay is gone now. Just let me know in the chat, J Dab, if it's still giving you a delay or whatnot. But I did fix it because I seen exactly what you were talking about. So I appreciate you
Everything's good to me.
throwing that out there. But continuing down, so like Xbox Mega Series, that music was clutch. You know, so many great games came out for that console. You know, it had the 4, you know, controller ports on the front, so like getting down multiplayer on that console was badass too. I'm not sure, did you ever get into Fusion Frenzy? Because to me that game
Oh yeah. Thing about Fusion Frenzy is originally I didn't buy NFL Fever
Wow,
2002
and then you
because
got
it was
into
my
it.
favorite football game or second favorite football game. I bought it because
then it
my
caught a
Walmart
fever.
didn't have Fusion Frenzy.
That's
And
what's up.
not many people know this, but NFL Fever 2002 has the Fusion Frenzy demo on it. So I bought the game with birthday money just to play
For real,
Fusion
because
Frenzy.
I have NFL Fever 2002. I did not
And then like NFL
realize
Fever's my
that
stuff.
Fusion
Yeah.
Frenzy is on there, because anytime I ever threw on that game, I just went straight to like
Anytime I played with my
something,
brother,
because
we'd always.
I mean, I'm not
be on
playing a
Fusion
whole
Frenzy.
season
Just
on that
load up to
nowadays. I'm
NFL Fever
just not doing
2002.
that. But every once
straight
in a
to
while,
Fusion
like I'll
Frenzy.
throw in like
always
Kobe's
use-
NBA courtside into my GameCube, or you know, I'll throw in NCAA football 2006 race for the Heisman and play a couple games on that on my PS2. But I have NFL Fever for my Xbox as well, and I've never thought to even look around the options and stuff like that. So that's interesting. Right. I think even Halo, the original Halo, I believe, had demos on it as well. I think it was in like the extras area or something.
It definitely catches people off guard when I tell them that it did have it, because back then a lot of full games did have some type of demo on the disc too. Something that might surprise, yeah, something that might surprise many people is I didn't respect Halo or Halo 2.
Gotcha. And so
until Halo
speaking
3.
of,
Like,
you
I
know,
played them,
Halo 3,
them both, beat the campaign.
now we're moving into like 360
split screen with my cousin, my uncle, and his mom's boyfriend. But I didn't understand.
I'm wondering, after the original Xbox,
the brevity or the importance
and owning
of
the
what Halo
PlayStation
would
2
be
as well,
to
did you
Xbox
have like
until I was
a
a little older.
direction at that point in which console you wanted to get, or was maybe your life more involved into like sports and other things at that point that you didn't really give it the time of day? Or where were you at after, you know, you got your fill of the Xbox?
Well, high school is an interesting time period because a lot of not quite so good stuff happened in the personal life. My dad ended up getting in trouble, going away for a while. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure he had sold like my Xbox and my Yu-Gi-Oh cards at the time in like a garage sale. And like, if I were to have those to this day, which I've always taken very good care of everything I've ever owned. Like, a lot of that stuff is the stuff that's worth money in today's market and stuff like that. And like, my Xbox was always in good condition. Like, it was never super dusty. But he sold all that stuff. So I ended up with a PS2 Slim at the time. And Xbox 360 had come out, I think, when I was a freshman in high school. And I didn't have the money. and I was bouncing between living with my mom, and it was right before my dad got in trouble, and her and my dad and my stepmom had split up, so like my brother went and lived with them, so I didn't have my brother to play with anymore. So like it was kind of a weird time, and I ultimately didn't get another gaming console till after I graduated high school, and my first experience, I ended up moving out before I graduated with some roommates and stuff, and one of my buddies lived with me and the roommates that we had lived with, and he ended up getting an inheritance because his
Right.
mother passed away, and he didn't know what he was going to do with the money. So I'm like,
Damn.
Xbox 360's out, man. Why don't we just jump head first into that and see if that's something you're interested
Like, we
in?
best friends.
So my buddy ends up getting the first Xbox 360 I got to play. Obviously, besides going to Walmart and playing demos, but he ended up getting Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion and Halo 3. And I was his guest 24/7 on Halo 3. But I didn't end up getting one till half a year after that, and the Xbox 360 was out for like a few years at this time. I'd say I didn't get mine till around Christmas time, 2007 maybe. And my first purchase I got would have been Halo 3. And I used to play that when I finally got a job, because I didn't have a job towards the end of high school. I worked at Wendy's. I'd work 4 to 12 every day, get off at midnight, go home, Halo 3, play till 6:30 in the morning every day. That was my routine. And I met a buddy through we used to play competitively, and he lives in Missouri, and his name's Josh. And then I ended up playing with this guy every day from the time I got my Xbox and Halo 3, and I met him every day until like spring of 2009. And when I say every day, holidays, we played every day. And I get this thing in the mail, and it says, "You've been inviting to Josh and his girlfriend at the time's wedding." I'm like, did my buddy from Missouri that I met on Xbox, never met this guy in person, invite me to his wedding? And I message him like, "What's up with this, man?" He's like, "Yeah, we've been friends a long time, so I want to invite you and Maximus," which was my boss from Wendy's. Let me tell you, this guy is nowadays 64 and still gets down on Call of Duty like he's 22. Like, Maximus is absolutely amazing. So we drove I live in Indiana. We drove from Indiana all the way to Missouri, Joplin to be specific, 636 miles, stayed in Hilton Hotel overnight just to go to our buddy's wedding that I met on Xbox. And it was
it's crazy because, as you were just saying just a little bit ago, you didn't even
got
take
to
it
have
serious like that.
A couple experiences like that through 360.
So it's pretty nice to hear that ended
we're
up
still
coming
friends
through
to
and
this
being a
day.
big deal.
In
But
2020,
but let's talk about maybe some of the other big games that came out during this.
None of that would not have been
there was
possible
a
without
lot.
one of my favorite
But I'm
games.
gonna bring up a couple names, and then you tell me if you got into it or if it was just like, meh, whatever. Okay?
Oh no.
So the first thing I'm gonna bring up is Crackdown.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was not a Crackdown person. At that time period, we had me and my buddy that bought the original 360. We're the same age. We had a couple other buddies that were still like in the later years of high school, junior, senior, and we had another buddy that just didn't have a job.
Fair enough. All right. Well, you mentioned this game just a moment ago, Oblivion.
6 TVs, 6 Xboxes, people playing different things, and I had one buddy like Crackdown was his thing, but it just wasn't really. I wasn't interested, and I didn't really play Crackdown until Crackdown 3, and I just still didn't get into it that much. If Skyrim and if gaming ended, we'll just say if gaming ended, Elder Scrolls Oblivion came out, it'd probably be in my top 5 favorite games of all time. And I don't know how many people got irritated. There's one specific achievement. This was back when I was trying to achievement hunt all the time. New to Xbox, achievements, great. I won everything. There's this one quest on Oblivion that would
Damn,
to no end make
powerful
me
right
pull
there.
my hair
Very
out.
powerful.
It might be why I kind of
All
have a
right. How
receding
about
hairline.
Fable?
The Arrows of Extraction. I don't know if anybody remembers that specific achievement. I could never find them. Never had water breathing. I was never completing that quest. But I'd say if gaming ended at that time
it's
period,
crazy about Fable.
probably top 5 favorite video games of all time. I did get down a little bit on Fable. Like, I definitely am not as much a Fable person like Addict is, but the concept of being, the
All right,
concept
all right.
of
That's what's up. All right, the last
being able
one,
to
and I can't.
go
Or actually, no, I'm
beat
gonna
up
bring up two
people
more.
or whatever, do bad
Uh,
stuff, get the horns,
Modern
my face
Warfare,
kinda
or
looked
better yet,
contorted and
Call of
ugly.
Duty in general.
Really intrigued me.
You said
but
you were
I didn't
competitive,
get like
so let's hear it.
Fable's not top 10 of all time, but I definitely enjoyed my time with it. Okay.
Oh snap!
Well, I was, and we definitely played Call of Duty. Let me tell you, I was a staunch defender that Call of Duty isn't good enough to lace Halo's boots, and I was the defender into the ground.
Ah man,
we
now
go
now,
have a
now,
street
now,
fight,
now we're
I'm
walking in
defending
different
Halo.
directions.
But
Okay, all right. Reality
I
is
did
set
play
in.
Call of Duty. I did play.
Shout out to
I played
those of
every
you
Call of
that
Duty that
just
came out
recently
except
joined.
for-
Make sure you hit that
I
like
not
button.
really played the most recent
Say
one or
what's
the
up
one
in the
before
chat
that,
if you'd
but,
like to.
I will say
if
I
you
did
have
play
any
Modern
super chats
Warfare,
you
but
want
I
to throw out,
preferred
go on
World
ahead
at
and
War
do
better.
so. Become a member if you'd like to. We only have one tier, so it's only $2. So if you want to become a member, you totally
World at
can.
War was my bag.
And yeah, let's continue this fantastic episode that I'm having this evening with Lord Chris, part of lordsofgaming.net. Dope dude, hangs out and kicks it with, them guys at the Iron Lords podcast as well. So you know where he's coming from. You know it's a real place right there, right? So let's go ahead and continue this. The last one I'm gonna bring up is probably like the staple of the 360 era, and I think you know what game I'm bringing up. That is Gears of War. Okay, so go ahead. What?
Go ahead. I was gonna say I definitely, my buddy Josh from Missouri, he and his younger brother were definitely the Gears of War people. And don't get me wrong, when I tell you this, I've never finished a Gears of War campaign. And it's not that I don't love the game. I love Gears of War. It's just that I would always be in a situation where I was co-oping with somebody. We wanted to experience it together. And then something would happen.
Damn.
Like Xbox get broken or something. Game would get stepped on, and I would always stay true. Like, we're going to play this game together. And ultimately it led to me not ever beating any Gears of War games. The closest one I got to beating would be Gears 5 because I played that by myself. But absolutely love Gears of War, and I'm sad. Don't get me wrong, I'm sad. I got buddies that judge me all the time. I honestly wish I would have just not stayed true to my word, and I wish I would have played them. But even to this day,
well, go ahead and
those buddies, hey man, why don't we finally go back and play Gears of War 2?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was definitely a miss on my part. Go ahead and talk about it, because obviously you got some history with it.
There's one game I'm surprised that you didn't mention that I thought was pretty big on 360, and it's Mass Effect. Mass Effect and Halo 3 compete. If I lump the Suikoden series into just series, otherwise they'll take 3 at least of my top 5 favorite spots. So I always put them, the series period, at number 1. Halo 3 and Mass Effect, the first one, because I think it's the best. Shout out to Lord Sovereign and Ainsley Bowden for being correct. Not Slow-Mo, who thinks Mass Effect 2 is the best. But Mass Effect 1 and Halo 3 fight for number 3 and number 4 spots on my top 5 all time. And the crazy thing about Mass Effect is I rented it from Family Video. And I, built my character, my Shepard, and I'm like exploring these space things. I'm like, the hell is this game? And like, I didn't like it at first. I'm like, I wasted $7 when I could have went and rented something else. And then a few weeks passed by, and my mom, it was around my birthday at the time, my mom had bought me Mass Effect, ironically, and I just rented Family Video. So I'm like, I'm going to try more and see what goes down. And then I actually made it past you, exploring the planets and stuff like that. I'm like, this game is actually really good, being able to make decisions. You got the Paragon, you got the Renegade. Chris always plays Renegade no matter what. Infiltrator, every Mass Effect game. Like, this game is absolutely mind-blowing. The story, creating the groundwork. The first game, I feel, usually in every series tends to be the better one in the series. Not the case in Suikoden. But building the groundwork for what we know is like the Milky Way galaxy, the story with Shepard, Garrus, Rex, all their different planets, and it carries on through Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. All the choices you make get carried over, and it's something like that we never got to experience in a game. Like, if like, trying to think of an important decision, like, you can like giving the cure for genophage in one of the Mass Effect games, like that drastically really nice changes. Like, do you help the Krogan? Do you remembered cure the genophage? What you did in a or do you not? You let Krogan population die. Decisions and all important so like decisions all like that get carried over throughout. So you can bring multiple games,
characters over as you were saying, like the whole Krogan thing, right?
Absolutely, like, I killed that. That's why Mass Effect's in my top 5.
Yeah, I know. Everybody looks at me like I'm a goddamn demon whenever I tell them that. But yeah, he gone. And like, so I came into number 2, and everybody was like, you should definitely have that. And I was like, he gone. And they're like, you didn't kill him, did you? I was like, yeah.
You killed Rex? Oh my god,
you monster. And I rescued Saving
the council.
Ashley.
That's an important decision from the first one. Killing Rex and saving the council is
because Ashley was
rescuing.
A jerk.
If you choose to
I was just
save
like, man,
Caden or Ashley,
like, you're
another
mean.
important decision that carries
Why'd
over.
I even save
like
you?
I said, we just don't get to experience stuff like that very often. I saved Caden every time until I played the Legendary Collection on Game Pass earlier. I think it was end of last year. I think I played the Legendary Collection on Game Pass. I'm like,
so 360.
Fine, I guess I'll rescue Ashley this once. And
time period for
it was like the kind of like kick in the sand. You don't really want to, but you just want to see what happens. And like, man, I guess I'll rescue Ashley this once.
Peter Moore was a big deal.
It's the only time I've ever rescued her. She can die.
Shout out to you over there at the Lords getting it in with Peter Moore a little bit. That was pretty dope. But now we're hitting more recent consoles. So the Xbox One and the PS4.
Yep.
Before we go to that, I'm kind of curious. Did you get or even have a PS3 at all during that period?
Actually did, but I really I didn't dive too much into the super popular games like a lot of people would have this is going to get me flamed, but I've never played God of War. I bought the PS3, which sounds crazy. Well, I didn't buy it. I got it for a present, but I bought it on the back of MAG. Do you remember MAG? Yeah, the game that touted like 200 some people online matches or whatever. I'm like, that sounds great. I got to play this. And so I bought that on the back of MAG and end up enjoying mostly on a PS3 would be when they put Suikoden back on the PlayStation Store, and I bought those and played those. But DJ Hero was my thing on PS3, and also the Wii. We kind of skipped over the Wii. The Wii was pretty big back then. Rapstar was important on the Wii. I can't tell you how many hours I tried to put in there to become a rapper. It never worked. And what was the other game? Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. One of my favorite games of all time. I love the Fire Emblem series. I'm a team turn-based, just like Lord Cognito and Lord Addict.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And
there's
a Pokemon Stadium game.
Checking because I was hearing from.
So I did. Even though we haven't really talked about it too much, like I did still play. I played the GameCubes. I played Nintendo 64 and all that stuff too. I don't want to forget about those. I did play, and the Nintendo platform as well.
I really don't even know what would be wrong with that. Other than, I mean, like I told you, as of recently, I don't know what the heck has been going on with my computer, but it's been having these super duper rough moments where audio or the video, like I had to restart the computer before we even started because my video wasn't turning on. Yeah, maybe, hopefully. But continue.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick.
Could be because I was sitting a little bit away from the mic, maybe. Maybe it's better now. I was just saying, we kind of skipped over like the Nintendo platforms. Like, don't get me wrong, I played the GameCube, Super Mario Sunshine, all that stuff. Super Mario Sunshine, but that was even the biggest game I played on the GameCube. Baten Kaitos was really big.
Oh yeah,
I realized like the importance of GameCube. When I was in high school and I moved into those roommates, like he was a big Baten Kaitos fan. But the big game for me, as a teenager, when the GameCube was out, post puberty, was a game called BMX Triple X. Do you remember that game?
Right.
Yeah. Well, there. Yeah. Well, once you enter certain cheat codes, certain inappropriate things would be unlocked. We won't get too far into details of that, but you can just post-puberty teenager of what we're looking at. But a big thing besides the GameCube, on Nintendo 64, flashback real quick, I was always playing GameCube games because I had the thing that would hook up to the controller. Not GameCube games, Game Boy games. So I'd play like Pokemon and stuff on Nintendo 64. Pokemon Coliseum was really big. You know, you get the Shadow Pokemon, you get the transfer thing. You could put Pokemon in the Coliseum games and back and forth. The Wii was important. Like I said, Fire Emblem, Radiant Dawn. One of my favorite, probably top 5 turn-based strategy games of all time. That was when I got introduced to characters dying. More in depth of when characters die in games, you don't get them back. Permadeath. Like I never experienced anything like that to this degree. And it made me go out and actually buy the strategy guide for Fire Emblem. First strategy guide I ever bought in my life, just so I could keep all my characters alive because I was so worried about my characters dying. And like I said, Pokemon Pokemon Revolution was the game on the Wii. But besides those, we go to PS4 and then the Xbox One, which is an interesting time period because both I got for Christmas presents. I actually paid for half of my PS4 for my Christmas present, But I liked Need for Speed Rivals, I think was the first game I played on Xbox One when it came out. And it had the snap feature, which was very important to Chris Jones, Lord Chris's early content creation.
As early as the Xbox
was that snap
One
feature. So
generation.
Assassin's Creed
that's
and Need for Speed Rivals would be the first thing I would ever
out there really trying to make it happen.
Streaming on Twitch. You're muted.
Yes, and everybody used to watch random TV shows and stuff like that because it had 24/7 shows and stuff like that on it.
Yeah, we tried when we were backyard wrestling at an early age. A lot of people don't know Twitch used to be something called Justin TV. We actually tried to stream when we were younger a backyard wrestling show live to Justin TV with a laptop. It was terrible and it didn't work. But yeah, I started pretty early in the Twitch life cycle of trying to stream a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I had a couple friends I found watching Twitch or whatever, and the first thing I ever watched on Twitch was Phantasy Star Online. I want to say maybe 2, but all the IPs outside certain locations like Southeast Europe, North America, Southeast Asia, or whatever, they had blocked all IPs. So like you had to get it. There's a big workaround. You had to get it in Japanese, right. Have like a translation software and everything. And I tried to do this all on a laptop. And outside the Snap on Xbox, which we'll get back to Xbox in a second, I tried to do this on a laptop. So, your streaming program.
So you were getting into PC gaming as well.
Phantasy Star Online 2 in Japanese, all on one screen. Like I didn't have a second screen, nothing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing and didn't understand streaming at all until Elder Scrolls came out for PC. Just strictly trying to play Phantasy Star because Phantasy Star Universe on 360 was one of my favorite games all time. Met a lot of people playing that. Although not my top 5, it was up there when my daughter was born. And I would have my daughter at my house. I'd have her in my recliner while I'm sitting there playing nonstop hours of Phantasy Star on 360. But Elder Scrolls came out, and I was waiting for console release. I'm as much as people tout PC, and like I get that PC is great, probably the best place to play a lot of video games. I've always been a console guy. I like the controller in my hands. I'm not as computer savvy as I used to be, and consoles are just easier. Turn on and go about your business. But I ended up meeting these guys that was streaming, and he had all the preview stuff for Elder Scrolls. Like he was partnered with ZeniMax for a while, and he had a big community of people that were going to play Elder Scrolls online on PC. So I'm like, well, I'll go to GameStop and cancel my pre-order and just play it here on. And I did. And his name was Defatank. I don't know his real name, but his name was Defatank, and like he had multiple invites for like free stuff, founders packs, all this stuff he'd give away on stream all the time. Like that's something I could see myself doing because at the time I was working an 8-hour shift. I could come home, stream for 8 to 10 hours, and then go to sleep and go about my business. And Elder Scrolls was that thing. And the thing that draws me to that over WoW, over other dead MMOs like WildStar, Terra, ArcAge, and like I used to be an MMO guy for a long time. Obviously now, recently, I have a whole bunch of OT overtime. I've not had a lot play any games really. But obviously, one thing that draws people to the Elder Scrolls series is the lore and the story with everything it has to do with Elder Scrolls in general. So being able to experience that on an MMO platform was something we hadn't had a chance to experience yet. And if we ever get a Starfield MMO, I'm sure it'll feel the exact same way. But the best PvP I've ever played is in Cyrodiil in Elder Scrolls. It's faction-based. You got 3 factions. You got the Aldemir Dominion, the Ebon Art Pact and the Daggerfall Covenant, you're all trying to capture keeps and stuff, hold it. You hold certain areas, your team becomes the Emperor, everybody gets buffs and stuff like that. And it's primarily team-based, and it's got to the point to where people will join like the other factions and stuff like that and try to team up on one faction that keeps winning. I'd say in recent time periods, I've always been a part of the Aldemary Dominion, and they've won so many campaigns of this Cyrodiil PvP that's always intense that they'll have the other two factions kind of team up and oppress certain factions based on how many times they've won. And that's something I don't feel we get to experience a lot in PvP. Don't get me wrong, WoW's PvP and PvP is good, and they got the raids and stuff like that, and Phantasy Star most recently, but I feel nothing tops Elder Scrolls Online, and that's probably some of my highest viewed streams. Besides my highest viewed stream of all time.
And it's so like helpful to have like a crew of people,
20 to 200 people,
that type of game with.
Every time I'd play Elder Scrolls,
it gets lonely.
We're interested to see what ZeniMax had to offer.
It gets lonely super fast.
I've never played Elder Scrolls Online and not enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I never understood what I was doing at first either, so having the community that streamer Defatank had built up, like, he was giving away time cards and stuff like that all the time, so a lot of people were there, and I met a lot of cool people that don't even play Elder Scrolls anymore that I'm still friends with to this day. And it's a lot of people might not agree, but in my experience, it's the least toxic MMO community I've ever been a part of. And now a lot of people would say Final Fantasy 14 is probably the least toxic, and they could be right, but I've not played since like early access when Final Fantasy 14 first came out. That's when I played.
Yeah, man. So I want to hear more about that snap thing that you're kind of alluding to a little bit.
Experienced a lot of not cool things. So nowadays, it might be completely different. The game's been out so many years. So
one of the greatest features of all time, right?
The ESO community has always been helpful to me. So that's another reason I love the game so much. Oh, yeah. So one of the features we don't have on Xbox, obviously, anymore is because the Kinect is the Kinect is no longer existent, is before I got into, like, I had a computer built, and at the time was a really good computer. I had a computer built, like, I can just snap Twitch on my Xbox and talk through the Kinect. Sign me up. There's no work necessary. So I'd be sitting in a bedroom, cluttered, like, not clean, like, I was a clean guy, but I shared a bedroom at the time with somebody else, and they were the general consensus, not clean gamer, whatever. So our room was always dirty, but I didn't care. I'm streaming with Snap, playing Assassin's Creed. I forget the exact Assassin's Creed at the time. Just talking through my Kinect, having a good time. Like, who needs to build a PC when you can just use the Snap feature and like snap YouTube while you're playing a game? You're stuck on a part and you want to YouTube the video, you can snap YouTube. And it was an interesting feature, but as a lot of people say, Xbox and Microsoft tend to be a little further ahead of its time than what the public's ready for, and ultimately end up failing. But being able to take your hand and move your Netflix movies and stuff like that of what you're watching, it was a great feature that I loved, but not for streaming. Even nowadays, I don't, at this current time period, I don't stream anymore. But if I were, I wouldn't stream directly from a console. I've gotten so used to having the extra add-ons, scrolling of the list of the supporters, maybe an image or graphics, stuff like that. One of my viewers made this custom Smite banner because I played a lot of Smite.
I honestly still wish
just seeing the extra stuff you can add.
Feature was around.
Snap
I just
obviously
wish it wasn't
can't do
so
that. ultimately the Kinect died. Rest
they
in peace.
tried to make it so
But it was a great feature, and I wish
to have it.
I wish the time
I
period
feel
would
like
have
if
been
they
ready for
would have
something like
marketed
that.
it the way that they ended up marketing it later, that it would have been fine. Like if they would have said, you can get the console, but you can have a Kinect if you want. I think that would have been great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was let me tell you, the game I enjoyed the most with Kinect, surprisingly many people, is they had a Harry Potter game, and I don't know if many people out there remember this, but it made me feel like I was a wizard.
But shout out to those of you in the chat that
you had to
pulled up.
control the
Ray
wand
Chi,
movements, cast the
Uso
spells, and all that
Vinny,
stuff. I felt cool.
Marnie
that might be
Kimberlin,
just me, but
Sir X-Men,
there were some good
J
games you got to
Dab,
experience with
Dola
the Kinect,
Knight,
but like I said, the advertising
John
TV
907
didn't work out.
Dragonheart Yobi, what's cracking? Good to see you. He says C Unit in the building. Let's go. So good to see you. Good to see you guys up in the chat. Thank you so much for pulling up. I know Starfield is out and kicking for all of y'all premium purchasers of that game, and I know a lot of the people that are usually around here today are probably off in the middle of some galaxy somewhere, and I totally get it. But I appreciate those of you that took the time out today to watch it live, because I'm sure a lot of those people will come back and watch it, a little bit later. But I appreciate those of you that are here right now. Like, super dope. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules, and thanks to Chris as well for popping on here. He's a busy man. He works a lot. He's been putting in a lot of OT. So just the fact that he decided to scoot a little bit of things to the side and whatnot so he can make a little bit of room for your boy Ham Solo, I appreciate that so much. So thank you to the chat, and thank you as well, Chris. But let's go on ahead and continue. So Xbox One, PS4, you ended up having them both, correct?
Yeah, crazy story about the PS4 is in my streaming escapades. I was playing Evil Within on Xbox One on Halloween, and randomly I get a $5 donation. Person I've never seen in my chat or anything before. Then I get a $20 donation, so that's 25. Then I get a $75 donation, and then I get $100 after that in increments up to $600. I'm freaking out because I've played Guitar Hero on stream where people could pay $1, request whatever song, stuff like that, but I've never experienced something like this, and it's on Halloween playing Evil Within, so I'm just going nuts, freaking out, and a person that was a long supporter of the stream until ultimately I moved and then didn't have internet for a while, and now my setup's not ideal for it, but I end up buying my PS4 with that person's. They're like, go out and get a PS4, man. So I end up getting a PS4, and I never really played a whole bunch on PS4, and ironically, I'm going to tell you what my favorite game on PS4 is, and anybody that knows this game is going to be like, Chris is nuts. This game was terrible. Pretty sure IGN gave it a 2 out of 10. But it's a turn-based strategy game that was so hard at a later time they had to put in an update that made the game a little easier. It's a game called Natural Doctrine. And I can concur. It is by far the hardest game I've played in my life. I would rather play Souls games. If it was based on difficulty purposes when it first came out, it was harder than Souls games. That's how difficult this game was. And it was to the point, like I said, I'm pretty sure if IGN review was checked, it was like a 2 out of 10. And I don't blame them. I tell you, this game was hard. I'm not exaggerating. Like, you'd be playing against the 72-10 Bulls by yourself. That's how difficult this game was. But I loved every second of it. And I got my butt kicked quite a bit. And I never actually beat the game. It was so hard. But recently, it was on sale for $1.50 on PS5 store. And at some point, I think September 5th, my overtime dies down. And I got a lot of games to dive into. Starfield,
Wow.
Sea of Stars, whole bunch of stuff.
That's interesting. That's
in the background,
the favorite game.
After I
as
finished,
you said,
I
it
got
would
a review,
be.
Lost
You know,
Eidolons.
You'd be surprised if you know this, or and
Lost
if
Eidolons.
anybody
So
does know it.
after I get the
what
review
hell?
for that, I
So-
want to go back and
So you got me
you know,
on
make
that
the
one.
old Chris happy and beat my favorite PS4 game, Natural Doctrine. Yeah, IGN 2. I'm pretty sure I looked at it before I bought it again for the $1.50. And I'm pretty sure all the sites, not just IGN, I'm pretty sure everyone gave it a
You're
low score.
You're special.
Because of
we'll
how
just leave it at
difficult
that. You're
this game
special,
was.
brother. But
I'm just an anomaly
but
to
let me
gaming.
go on ahead
like I
and
said,
move
I've never
on to
finished the
the
Gears of
last
War story for
generation,
reasons
which
I
is the
explained.
current one.
I've never played God of War.
PS5,
but then I've played
Xbox
games
Series
like
consoles,
Natural Doctrine.
PC is a big deal.
So
Switch.
I'm just an
I
anomaly.
mean, you can kind of juggle that between last generation and this generation because I mean, it came out like what 2017, 18. I think it was 20. No, actually, was it 2017 or no? I think it's 2016, maybe even. I don't remember off the top of my head, but anyways, what's that all about now for you currently?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure. I didn't get it for a few years, so. Well, starting with the Project Scorpio, I know technically the end of last generation. I didn't watch gaming podcast. I wasn't. I didn't have that much interest, but when they announced, I remember they announced the Halo Master Chief Collection, which I freaked out about. Big Halo fan, obviously. I told you I defended against any Call of Duty person back in the day. But they also announced around that time Project Scorpio. I'm like, well, I would consider me more of an Xbox guy just because I always bought a PlayStation to play my JRPGs because Xbox never really had them outside in a exclusive few, Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, stuff like that. But they announced Project Scorpio. I'm like, I want to know more about this. And so on YouTube, randomly, I know a lot of people disagree with this guy. And but I found a podcast called Xbox Nation at the time, which the podcast no longer exists. And the host of the show was Crap Gamer. I know it's a lot of people's first introductions into the gaming space, and a lot of people agree or disagree with him, however you might feel about the guy. But that was my first introduction to everything. And like from him, I discovered RDX with Dealer, Crossfire with Mooch, and Mooch is someone I like a lot and I've talked to. And then it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. So I get the Project Scorpio, like we get the next generation announced, Xbox Series X, PS5, 12 teraflops versus 10 teraflops, and ray tracing, machine learning, quick resume, fastest SSD, all the stuff that they're touting. And like, well, I want to know more about this. And a lot of the times at work, I get like, I'm the type of guy where I work at is I don't have like set break times. So I'll work from the time I get there until I'm done. And I work like a 12.25 hour shift. So like if I go in there, I work 3 hours straight, I'm free to watch YouTube the rest of the night or whatever. Or if I go in there, I have to work till 3 o'clock in the morning, but I take my breaks in like the second half of the shift. So I'll be able to like get my information. And so I started watching all these podcasts. I know I'm not going to say them in order that I discovered them. Obviously, I discovered Iron Lord's podcast at one time. All of Mr. Boomstick shows, your guys' show, I said Mr. Boomstick, Noof Nukem, just all these
That's
different
insane.
podcasts. And at one point in time, I know I shouldn't admit this, but part of my job is driving a forklift. I would have so many podcasts to listen to. I'd have to have earbuds in while I'm driving my forklift just to get through all the podcasts. And at one point in time, I was listening to like 32 podcasts a week, and that's just crazy. And like Slow-Mo Backslap and Forte, DPS, Ash and Luke on Saturdays. Like there's just so many great people that had information that I wanted to digest. And so when it comes to these consoles, I had the choice. I can pre-order one of these consoles.
Oh man, tragic.
Obviously being, I had an 8 terabyte external hard drive from last generation. Most of my games are on Xbox, and Xbox came out first, so I'll go with the Xbox. So I'm the type of guy that went and stood at GameStop at 5 o'clock in the morning till 11 a.m., chatted up with a couple people. Yeah, we had 4. They had 4 Series X's and 2 Series S's for release. One of my buddies decided he was going to stay at a different buddy's house instead of my house. I said, I'll be there. I'll be there. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'll be there. He ended up showing up too late. But I stood there for 6 hours, pre-ordered my Series X, and it's one of the best experiences I've got to experience of all time. The quick resume feature is amazing. I wrote an article a while back about how my experience with cloud on mobile phones was like. And at work, we don't have access to Wi-Fi. So everything I play at work, unless it's a hotspot through my phone on a laptop, it's mobile data. And I've had a few iffy experiences, but I'd say like 90% of the time while I'm at work, my experience has been flawless. I've played Gears 5 multiplayer at work. I've played Octopath Traveler at work. I would say, ironically, the worst gaming experience was Humans Fall Flat. I just don't know why. It just couldn't run on cloud on my phone. But being able to play cloud at work and then come home, pop up what I'll be doing, because I'll be playing. Unfortunately, I won't be able to play Starfield tonight because I'm working in a different department than my normal stuff. But tomorrow, my first experience with Starfield will be through the cloud on my phone. If it's on, I don't know if it's on cloud. I've not looked. But if it is, I'll play Starfield at work, create my character, do the opening, and then I'll come home Saturday morning before I go to bed and be able to experience Starfield without, having to worry about saving and stuff like that, because the cloud just brings everything over. And being able to experience something like that is really good. And like PS5 has stuff like when I went to PAX East with the Lords, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute.
That's wild that you've never played.
I got to experience Wayfinder with a few other people, and it's got early access over on PlayStation 5. It might be out now to the public, I believe. But being able to experience like Wayfinder, and I have God of War Ragnarok downloaded, and I will play it at some point just so I can be able to. Don't get me wrong, I've watched people. I've watched. I do. For a while, I know it sounds crazy. For a while, and I've worked so much time. So like recently, my gaming time's been limited. Like the only game I've played within like the last month is probably Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and that's because I can play it quickly on my phone, and I've not had a lot of time at work to play through the cloud. So like I've not got to play recently anything, but like I'm going to play God of War, and like PlayStation's still going to have stuff that Xbox won't have. Obviously, we don't know if it's going to come to Xbox, but Final Fantasy VII Remake, I got to experience that on PlayStation 5. Absolutely love Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy X is the best of all time. Don't at me. And Final Fantasy 16, I played the demo. Absolutely love the demo. Right. I've not got a chance to play the real game, because when the real game came out, I ended up getting a new truck, so money was kind of tight, so I had to make some sacrifices. But I plan on playing, yeah. So I plan on playing Final Fantasy 16 at some point too. But like, I'm always gonna have PlayStation because they're always gonna have stuff that Xbox isn't gonna have, and I'm always gonna have Xbox because that's where my people are at. That's where all my games are at.
Me too.
And I do have the Switch.
I only really play my Switch docked, just
every
because
month,
I don't know.
put out
Just
a new
like I
Pokemon
feel
battle
like when I'm
team.
holding, like when I have
34
like my
years
Steam
old,
Deck,
still
I
love
feel
Pokemon to
silly
death.
using it at home. Like just playing
Ironically,
a
a lot of
handheld
people
at
obviously use the
home
Switch to take with you on the
feels silly.
go.
Like I'd
I like
rather
to
have
keep
it
my
on the
Switch
TV and
docked and
be
be able to
reclined.
play. Yeah, be able to play Pokemon battles. Yeah, yeah.
Are you talking about the Rumble Pack or? Oh wow.
For the longest time, like I mentioned for the Nintendo 64, like I played a lot of games on there, but a lot of my time was spent with the thing that hooks in the bottom of the controller. Maybe it might have been the actual like slot, but anyways, you could put your old Game Boy games in there. I'm talking about the thing that lets you play Game Boy games. It might have been the cartridge, but you could play Game Boy games. Like I always dreamed.
A lot
It
different
sounds
than your Game
stupid to
Boy,
some
huh?
people, but I always dreamed of being able to play Pokemon on the big screen. And with different iterations of Nintendo consoles down the road that we got to experience that. Like being able to play double battles on my 75-inch TV that's all fancy with all the specs you can think of, and be able to a lot different than the Game Boy or playing on your lap.
Man, them
And I
64 controllers were
I don't
heavy
like
after you got everything.
some of the practices that Nintendo does. A lot of people flamed PlayStation for charging $10 for upgrades or whatever like that. A lot of people don't remember Nintendo was the first one that, you want Rumble in your game, you got to go buy the Rumble pack. You want this in your game, you have to go buy this thing to add to your Nintendo 64. So they're one of the first ones to do it. Oh, yeah. They were definitely ones to do it because you got the Rumble pack, memory card, all that extra stuff you have to put in. So if you flame PlayStation, you also have to flame
fantastic.
Nintendo and all
Are you
that
looking
stuff.
forward to?
But I would say the current
getting
generation
a
is
new
probably
Nintendo console once that gets announced. Is that something that you think you'll
it's-
pre-order and get?
because of what my
or are you
favorite
gonna wait
console
and let
is.
it
I'd
cook?
say it's probably my second favorite generation, and I absolutely love the PlayStation 5. I love my Series X, and I love my Switch.
You keeping it real.
I'm the type of person that will probably buy it with a tax check, because, like I mentioned, my dad was
Shout out to Mav.
smart when we were younger. He's like, "I'll buy you this one game. You play it and beat it. You can have this other game." We got so many games right now. Sea of Stars just came out like the 28th or 29th or something like that, and people that love Sea of Stars are in early access. I did Fun Speculation a while back. Like maybe last month. Yeah, Mav's excellent. Maybe last month, and Psycho was saying like, "Well, I might play Sea of Stars before I jump into Starfield." And like, they weren't making fun of Psycho, but they were kind of joking around, poking fun. It's like, you're going to play Sea of Stars over Starfield. Like, there's so many great things coming out right now, like Sea of Stars, Starfield. We got Spider-Man before too long, Forza before too long, and there's minor games like Alterium Shift's going to come out before too long. That's another JRPG we got to experience at PAX East. Shout out to Addict for that interview.
Ones.
And there's just so much stuff to play. It's nuts. So I don't mind waiting for it tends to be Nintendo. It's the only one I wait for the tax check.
Thank you.
If a new Nintendo console came out, it'd definitely be a tax check. And I don't have like the OLED model or stuff like that. I just have the normal. And I had the Xbox One until Scorpio came out. Like I don't need mid-generation refreshes. I'm one of the people that don't think we need one right now. I think people, developers. I know developing's a difficult job, and I feel like once they get more in tune with the tech,
make another
we
new
can just wait for the next generation. Because if we get mid-gen refreshes and developers,
I feel like that
aren't taking advantage of
just kind of selling.
I can't speak for developers, but aren't taking advantage of.
I mean, it'd be cool if they ended up utilizing something like that, but for the Xbox in particular, in my opinion,
yes,
I just feel like it would be more detrimental for them to. It'd be more bad for them to create like a pro console than just sticking with what they got, because they already kind of pigeonholed themselves with the Series S. Whether you believe it's a good or bad thing, I personally like the Series S. I own the consoles. I own the Series S and the X, and I like having the Series S. I like how quick I can like just take it with me somewhere, and like it's just a little guy. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room. Very light, really easy, and you can
Yeah.
buy that flip up, screen for it if you're really mobile like that. I'm not that mobile, but that thing has a lot of good traveling features. Putting a Pro on there would,
Yeah.
to me, just make things more confusing than they already are. Adding a third SKU on there, and then on top of it, it's just like, how much better is it gonna really be? Because we're seeing 3080s buckle on some of these games, and we know they ain't throwing nothing that hefty into the new into like a pro console or something like that. So like if Xbox were to make a pro console, I still think you would get something like Starfield at 30 FPS. Like, I don't see that changing a whole lot. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I'm 100% behind Phil Spencer when he said we don't need that. I'm hoping he holds true to that word on there. But so far so good for this generation for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I would like if the generation just kaput now, like I'd say probably 4 out of 5 stars for this generation. Like, and I'd still say it's early. Obviously, COVID hurt a lot of things, but like we've still got great games during this generation. PlayStation's put out a few good ones. One of note, like I said, Final Fantasy 16, God of War Ragnarok. A lot of people enjoyed that. And then
It's
Xbox
been kind of
on the
up and
flip side,
downhill
they had
with it, but
they had
like
the slip
right
up with
now
Redfall
with
but, you know,
Halo,
they
I know
explained
there's
they
been a
wish
lot
they
of
would've
buzz with
helped out a little
Starfield.
earlier on.
There's a
We
lot
got
of
the Shadow
bad
Drop
buzz
Hi-Fi
with,
Rush. We're getting ready to have
Redfall.
Starfield. Forza
There
Horizon
was
5.
the
Over 20
showcase
million
that drew a
people.
lot of attention. Halo was just
Halo
kind of in the
Infinite.
background doing its thing, and I feel like
Can't really.
if you actually go on and
Yeah.
play Halo right now, I personally feel like it's in a pretty damn good place. Because I hopped on and played, and I was like, Last Resort, Valhalla, let's go! like, oh man, now I'm able to run in Valhalla. This is fantastic. Like, like this is great. Last Resort, man, seeing that big old wheel spinning again, and
Oh, yeah. It's
you
definitely
starting
gotten a
out
lot
in the
better.
separate bases, one flag and stuff like that. Like, bro,
Yeah.
yes. Like when I turned on Halo, I did not I turned on Halo a few weeks ago, and I was playing. And I was like, yo, this is bringing back some nostalgia right now. This is
Yeah.
really nice because I can go in and play the stuff that's new, but I can also go back and kind of revisit like some of my childhood favorite maps and stuff like that. So love that. And that it is I just personally think that Halo is in a really good spot. I just would like to see them, figure out what they want to do with that franchise going forward. Like it's clear that they're kind of, Halo Infinite kind of hit a wall. They're clear with that, and they're kind of just making it worth your while since they hit the wall with that. I'm really interested in how man, that team is slipping my mind. Certain
Yeah.
Affinity. I'm really interested in what Certain Affinity is working on in the background, and then I'm also interested to hear what what his name's Pierre, right? Yeah. I'm really interested in the direction Pierre is gonna take this
343.
franchise
Oh, Certain Affinity.
from now, because with Bonnie Ross leaving and all that stuff, Pierre was a big deal for Halo.
Yeah. I forget his last name. But Pierre. Yeah.
You're the one that you were just talking about just a moment ago. The collection, the Halo collection. Yeah, the Master Chief Collection. He is a big helper in getting that back to where it needed to be, because remember it came out broken as hell. And to hear that he's getting Halo Infinite back to where it needs to be is a good sign. But I want to see like what his maybe mind
Master Chief Collection
can figure out for something maybe new and refreshing to really bring that Halo series back to life. I might be a little bit different than other people. I want them to take their sweet ass time. Don't rush nothing. Don't put your ear to the street trying to listen to a bunch of what other people like. Just do what you want to do and execute that shit and be prepared for launch. Don't be, trying to get all your ducks in a row like, people trying to leave the house 2 minutes before they got to be at work. And,
me too.
That struggle when you're trying to get out the door, but you just, now where's my keys? Oh crap, where's my wallet? Like that unpreparedness, like people can see it, they can smell it, especially the trolls. They love it. So yeah, make sure that they walk out the door better next time, because I really want to continue as many people out here saying Halo's dead and stuff like that. I feel like an IP of that stature can never really die. It's just given up on. Don't give up on Halo. It will only die if you let it, in my opinion. But all right, so that's pretty much the gist of the whole console section of it. Now I wanted to, before we start to, answer those quick hitter questions and get up out of here, I always ask people, especially people that are content creators like yourself, you do writing for lordsofgaming.net. I want to know how you found yourself into that position. I want you to start way back, because you were talking earlier about the Xbox One and how you were a content creator on Twitch and stuff like that at that time. So I want you to go back to the point where you had one viewer and it was probably you, like on your phone or something like that. Like tell me what that was like and how you got to where you are now with lordsgaming.net.
Okay. Well, like I said, when I first started, it was, the Snap feature, Assassin's Creed, whatever it was at the time. I just can't remember the exact one. And Need for Speed Rivals Xbox One first came out, and you'd have obviously the big screen, the little rectangle on the side. You might see someone pop up and say hi. You're focused on the game, so I might not see it. But I didn't really care. I was always of the mindset of if I'm going to play, because I'm going to play games regardless, why not let people watch me play games? And I don't know at what point before I tried to do everything on one screen on a laptop, which don't recommend for anybody because it just doesn't work. I'm like, maybe I can get rich. That's not the mindset you should have when you first go into YouTube, streaming, whatever your content creation journey might be. Maybe I can get rich. Maybe I'll get some donations or something. So then that's when Elder Scrolls kind of hit, and Death Tank started giving me a little bit of the nitty gritty of the knowledge and stuff of how he did things, and used XSplit Broadcaster at the time. I was paying $20, $25 a month for, like you said, one viewer in chat. That was probably me. And it was a weird progression. I don't know an exact point of when people started popping up, but it just it just kind of happened. And I never focused strictly on one game. I'd always jump around. Obviously Elder Scrolls Online was a big one. Neverwinter, probably the most hours I've put into any game of all time ever as of now. Played those a lot. Guitar Hero, I jumped through there. A big thing I remember, my most highest viewer count ever is Final Fantasy X HD Remastered on the PS3. I was streaming through Elgato Capture Card. Shout out to Elgato, the only capture card I could ever figure out how to use. But I was streaming. I was on the last 4 bosses. I got the only extra non-story Aeon I got was Yojimbo. Yojimbo's a bro. and I one hit the last 4 bosses because for many people that don't know, you pay a Jimbo a certain amount of money, and then it's up to RNG of what move he decides to use, and he has this ability called Zamout Toe. If Jimbo the Aeon uses it, it's a one-hit KO, and you can KO bosses, at least on the PS3 version.
No.
So I one-hit the last 4 bosses to like 460 people watching me live on Twitch. Everybody's freaking out and celebrating with me. It was a great time, and I never got rich. As I progressed through streaming, like I learned that's not something I should have be focused on. It was just being able to share a good gaming experience with the people. And I had consistent people that would watch me. My roommates would literally be in their bedrooms watching me live stream just because they thought I was entertaining. And I would spend my own money. After a while of, not when I realized money, it's not about the money. I'd go out and want to do stuff for my community. Like I'd always buy like Xbox gift cards, PlayStation gift cards, Steam gift. I'd give those away to the communities, do all these different giveaways. I'd always play with people who ever wanted to play. And ultimately, when I moved out of that house, I moved into a place where I didn't have internet, and I didn't have an ideal setup after that. So everything just kind of died streaming wise. And my PC's out of date. I don't plan on getting a new desktop anytime soon. So the streaming thing's either on hold or kind of just dead for now. Like I had like 1,500 people that were following me on Twitch. So it was a nice time. But to open it up to the writing portion, I never wanted to be a writer. Might sound crazy. If you read my LogNet journey, an article I put out last month or the month before when I reached my 100th article, I failed in my high school second semester junior English, which was the writing portion. I failed it. Hated writing. Never wanted to write after high school. Never had plans to write. Well, I stumbled across. I was always trying to get on people's shows. Shout out to Spooky Sprocket for bringing me on the Wasteland Spotlight. Obviously, the Fun Speculation fam. I love those people. Wilmy Hood. Talk to Wilmy all the time. Whenever overtime dies down, I'm supposed to be on Gaming Beyond the Box again. Noof Nukem brought me on his show, Gaming After Dark. So I was always trying to find ways to, share the news I had. And I had news ahead of time before the announcement was made that Eiyuden Chronicles Rising and Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes was going to be in Game Pass. I'm like, this is my way to get on the Iron Lords podcast. So I hit Attic up on Twitter DMs. I'm like, hey, man, I know how much you love JRPGs and stuff like that. Without telling him the exact information that I had, I'm like, you should look into this game, Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes and Rising. I think you might see something you like. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. And he never came back to me. So then a couple weeks passed, and I hit Lord Cognito up because I back this game as a Kickstarter, so I get updates all the time about this game. And I hit Cog up, and I'm like, hey, man, this might be something you guys might want to look into. And he's like, oh, that's excellent information, brother. You should put that out as an article. I'm like, me? Right? Are you crazy? And so I'm like, whatever, let's do it. So then I put out a test article or whatever, and their editor-in-chief at the time, Joshua Redding, shout out to him. He's been one of the best helps on reviews possible. He's an excellent review guy. He's thrown a couple of my reviews in the bushes, so to speak. I call him Mr. Redpin. I love Josh. He's awesome. Like I said, he's helped me out a lot.
Yeah, brother.
And he was the first one that looked
Congratulations,
over my
man.
first article.
So what is it like
from Kickstarter
being
to Game
part
Pass,
of,
everything we know about Eiyuden Chronicles?
Such a large crew that's
kind of
has
kicked off
a ton
from
of
there, and
different
like I never
moving
planned to like
that is,
dive as deep as I've dove.
ILP and
but
Lords of Gaming.
That's kind of how it started.
How is it like connecting with them, trying to be on the same page? Is it tough? Is it easy? Give me some insight.
It's actually a lot easier than many people think. And like you talk about the connecting parts, one person who ever since I met this person and started talking to him, one person that has his hand in everything and always puts everything on his back, always on the go, one of the hardest working people I've talked to, I've met. Love this person. Lord Cognito is one of the hardest working people I've ever seen in my 34 years of being alive. He's got his hand in the website. Cogs even edited one of my articles a while back. And he's
especially when you got the center planner,
one of the main
right
hosts
there
of
that just
ILP.
knows how everything works.
He helped me find a place to stay when we went to PAX East back in March. Cog is exactly as his name say. Cog is the Cog, and he helps everything go around. And it's a lot easier than people think. I've never had yeah. There's not really been any bad blood very much. If you read my article, my LogNet journey, in there it says, after the end of the year, I almost quit back in January. One of the editors, shout out to Flame, Joe Repko. We talked quite a bit. You know, he talked me off a ledge. As you can see, I still write for LogNet. I went through a rough time last year with the death of one of my best friends over 20 years. He died 3 hours later after my cousin, who, if you've listened to the story we've told so far, I grew up with. He was my partner in crime. So the end of the year, I'm very competitive. As I mentioned with sports, disagreement towards the end of the year. I think this is like the only negative experience for me personally. I'm not afraid to admit it. I felt I should have been Scribe of the Year. I disagree with the decision that they made. No, shout out to that person. Ty's an excellent writer, more technical and better writer than I am. I disagree with the reason they gave, but I accept their decision. And like I said, me and Joe talked a while back. He talked me off a ledge, and I'm happy he did. I love the team. I love everybody I write with.
I want you to kind of
we've collaborated a few times, multiple people putting out
and just tell me
games we're excited for. Our
some of the most
favorite gaming experience moments that got us into gaming
that you've had.
So even though it's a multiple moving parts, it's a lot easier than many people think. And happy to be a part of the family. A lot of people would think Scribe of the Month, which, don't get me wrong, it's an excellent award. Absolutely love it. It's one of the ways that Lord Dizzy, one of the fallen brothers of LogNet and ILP, was able to leave an everlasting impression on people. And they show respect to him through Scribe of the Month and Editor of the Month, stuff like that. But I think the most powerful moment for me is when I met Cog, King, Sav, Addict, Lord Gene, and Petey, Lord Petey TV in person. That moment, that bond that we were able to form, because like, I don't know if people know, sometimes hotels can be really expensive, and there was no way with my budget at the time I was going to be able to afford a hotel. So Cog put it on his back, connected me with Lord Gene, and shout out to Gene. Absolutely love Gene. The conversations we had while in PAX East to and from, because we were the only ones that traveled by car there back and forth. Excellent conversations. And the bond that we built
Mr.
in
Energy.
PAX, they always included me. They never disincluded me from anything. Met people from Wicked Good Gamings, Jake Baldino. We included Donkey, and like even people like Hip Hop Gamer, a person I've never met in my life or interacted with till PAX. Yeah, he was at the Omni Hotel where everybody was staying except for me and Gene. Like, I've never met this guy. He's like, who's this new guy over? He's like, oh, your name's Chris. My name's Hip Hop. You know, yada yada yada. And he pulled me in, handshake, treated me like I was a member of the family, which is exactly what Cog, King, Sav, and Addict did. And big shout out to King and Cognito, because this is my second time flying ever. King reached out. He's like, man, I don't want you to worry about nothing. I
That
got
is
your
fire.
back.
Like that.
He's like, you
That's a
family.
warm
And that's
little
exactly
story
from
that you
that
had
moment
right there.
on till this
Very
day.
nice. Very
What
nice,
I've been
brother.
treated as is treated as
Last piece on
like I'm a
this
member of the
topic
family.
that I wanted
So I'd say
to
that's
kind of
probably
have
the
you
most
go
impactful and
into
proudest moment
is
is
I want you to kind
building
of
that bond and
go
breaking bread
and
with my
think
ILP
about
brothers.
the people that helped you get to where you are in this space, and just give out, you know, like show them the respect and love, you know, by just shouting them out real quick, you know, just like shout out to this person, that person, you know.
Um, I, okay. Obviously, big shout out to my family that bought me games when I was a kid, because you know, if I would ever experience the experiences I had the chance to experience, the Sega Genesis for Christmas, even though I wasn't that big into Miss Pac-Man. Sorry, Dad, you bought the wrong game. Sonic 2, my mom and my uncle buying me the Game Boys, the PlayStations, my dad and my stepmom pulling off the Xbox. My girlfriend at the time that bought me, she paid for half of my PS3. Yeah, half of the PS3 for Christmas one year. I'm pretty sure she helped my mom buy the Xbox One. My best friends that always support my writing and stuff like that. Like, I have people that no matter if they like the article or not, they click on it, they check it out. Obviously, the people from ILP and Lognet, Cog, Sav, Attic, King, Joe, Mahmood, Josh, Nick, Ty, Gondor, just Gene, especially Gene. Gene's absolutely amazing. Gave me a place to stay at PAX East. Shout out to Pong Soul. Going through that rough time last year, as I mentioned, Pong was there. He talked to me, gave me words of encouragement. Mav, Pong, Steel, Caitlin, Psycho, 3-Bit, everybody, the Fun Spec fam, Gaming Beyond the Box, Wilmy, Bomber, everybody that treated me like family, brought me into their communities. They're all family to me. Shout out to you for bringing me on the show. You reached out. Like I told you before the show, a lot of people don't consider writers content creators, but like you said yourself, writers are the original content creators. Without them, what do we have these days? So just a big shout out there. But it's been part of the big shout to all the people that participated last December's holiday thing.
I'm happy
Jason
to
Ronald be a part
give
of
you
it.
the opportunity to go on ahead and
Erica's
you know
for the
let everybody
win.
know, you know,
Boomstick, everybody that
you know,
put in for any articles. Slow Mo, me and Slow Mo had a couple community speculation pieces about Mass Effect, which are on the site. Go check those out.
Writing.
Just everybody that's ever
So
supported me. I appreciate it.
congratulations on you know the distance that you've gone so far, the transformations that you needed to make to become the person you are today. It's very much a big deal. Congratulations, and I'm happy that you're somewhere where you feel like you're part of a family, because that is super important and helps motivate you to keep going instead of getting into your head too much. Because when you're on your own, or you have just a short list of people that you can rely on, it kind of makes it harder to stay motivated and happy to do something. But when you got like a whole crew or a family that's like, yo, we believe in you, we see what you're doing, and they're obviously going to be critical of you sometimes, like, yo, this ain't right, you need to fix this, or you know, they're willing to keep it honest with you, but they do it in the most respectful way. It's just it's priceless. Hold on to that, brother. Hold on to that. Absolutely. But let's continue on. We got a few of these quick hitter questions, and then we are going to get out of here. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of get into and ask you is, what is a genre within gaming that you refuse to play?
I would say the two genres I'm least likely to play, not that I refuse to play, just farming simulator style games. Like I'm not super into those style of games, but Souls-like games, and not that I won't play them, just most of the time.
They can be pretty stale.
I'm into
especially if
gaming
that's not a
for
genre that
relaxing
you're
time.
into.
If I'm
It's
to the
pretty hard to
point
get
like where
into
I'm
it if
getting
you're not
mad at
into it
something,
already.
I need to put that game down.
Continuing forward,
But I'd say probably Souls-like or simulators.
what
Probably
is
more
the
so
best
simulators.
3
just 'cause I find
games
the majority,
that
not all, I
you've
find them
played
a little
this
boring.
year, whether they've came out this year or not? So it doesn't matter if they're new. I'm just wondering, what is the best 3 games that you've played this year?
Well, I feel like it's a cop out because every year I play the first 3 Suikoden games at minimum. So I will lump those together as one game. I'll say the Suikoden series because I play it every year, twice a year. I would say probably Final Fantasy 16, even though it was the demo. Absolutely loved what I played. And Demio. Shout out to COG for this. Demio is a VR game. It's out on PS5, Quest, Steam. You can go play. It's turn-based. You got like different classes, Sorcerer, Bard, Guardian, all this stuff. You go through these 3 different levels, try to complete this adventure.
Excellent. So those are the 3 games.
Probably
Demio's
probably
for you.
We'll get rid of Suikoden.
Do you
Demio,
think there's any
Final
chance
Fantasy
any other
16,
game could steal
and
the
a game I
thunder of
recently
one of those
reviewed,
3
Might and Magic Clash of Heroes Definitive Edition. So far.
I think a lot of people do.
Starfield, obviously. I'm not going to get to play it as early as everybody else, but Starfield potentially has the chance to steal the thunder. Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes got moved to Q2 next year.
That's for sure.
And then
all right, so what
Konami
is your
delayed
favorite
Suikoden,
studio?
I hate Konami right now.
Still gaming studio.
I feel they didn't do it for the
video game.
I feel they didn't do it for the reason that they gave us. And they did it to piggyback off of Eiyuden. So I think Starfield has the potential to take Game of the Year completely.
New Vegas.
Easy. A lot of people would think it's Konami, but no. Even though I love Suikoden series, favorite series of all time, definitely is not Konami.
Those are exciting.
Obsidian, and the game that best represents Obsidian. Fallout New Vegas, which I've never beaten. Really I played a little bit of it. The Outer Worlds, absolutely hilarious, fun time. Absolutely loved it.
It looks like it's downgraded.
I'm waiting to see what they have in store with the Valve and Outer Worlds too.
Was just CGI. so I'm not buying that shit. But anyways, I might buy the game, but I ain't buying what them people are saying. But now I need to know, what game are you most excited for 2024 that you know of?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel this is a cop out now too, because my game of the year probably would have been the Suikoden remasters for this year if they didn't get pushed back. But gotta say the Suikoden HD remasters. Suikoden fans have been waiting for many years. There's multiple movements formed to try to get Konami to revitalize its IP. And but if I don't include Suikoden from biased reasons, probably Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes. Developers behind it, Yoshitaka Murayama, Junko Kawano used to work on Suikoden 1 and 2.
As much as you did.
Murayama worked on
Today
3
on
before
this
he left
show.
Konami. So like,
Suikoden,
it's the
Suikoden,
developers
Suikoden,
for my
Suikoden,
favorite games
Suikoden.
of all
Like,
time.
it
And
is
from what I've seen,
flying
what I know,
right now, you
the
love
information
that
I get,
joint. Like,
Union Chronicles is
ain't
going
no
to do
lie. Ever
justice
since
as
you've
the
been a little
spiritual
kid on that
successor for
PlayStation 1, you've
Suikoden.
been knocking it out the park. God damn, man. God damn. And that was the original game you were talking about with
I
Martins,
highly
right?
doubt it. Yes.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's wild. All right, so now I'm kind of curious.
Oh yeah.
What are
Absolutely.
2 games that you would like to revive that are completely dead IPs now? So these games are long gone, and you'd like to bring them
Yes,
back. What would
Suikoden
those 2
2
games be? And
would have
keep
been
in mind,
the
you
game
can
for that
get these
experience. Yeah.
games like AAA, money. Right? That's what I was thinking. I was waiting for it.
I won't say Suikoden, which is what people think. Technically, it's a dead IP. I will say.
Back from the
Twisted
dead in
Metal.
the chat says Demio is on
I
sale
absolutely
for
love Twisted Metal.
$27
It's
right
on the
now
outreach of my top
on
5, but
Steam.
not quite in there yet.
There you go.
And
All
either
right,
Command and Conquer
and then
or
I
Legend of
have
Dragoon.
these 2 last questions.
Gotta be one of those
to
3.
close
Well,
out
2 of those 3.
today's show. Okay. The first one is gonna be what frustrates
Go
you
get it.
about gaming, and this could be any piece of gaming, whether it's news or development or the community or the games themselves, the consoles. Go on ahead.
Yeah. Besides Konami delaying games for stupid reasons, probably when people focus so much on the negativity for clicks. Don't get me wrong, I know we got to report the news, but when you only report the negative news and not the positive news, that's when I usually click away from somebody or something. Like there's a lot of news to share.
Sega too.
That we don't have a union in gaming yet, because I'm a union rep where I work at. So I know how positive unions can be. Don't get me wrong, they're not 100% positive things, but I'd say
Now,
probably
can
98%
you?
of the time
Because it
unions are
sure
great.
seems like
And we'll get to see that with
IGN
Raven
and other
Softworks once
news
the Activision
outlets
Blizzard deal
love
finally goes
to
through, if it does.
kind of.
So I'd say probably,
Oops, we
so
messed
probably
up
so many people
when I
focusing
feel like
on
when it feels
the
calculated
negative and not sharing the positive
for
just
some
for clicks,
clicks,
because you can get clicks on positive news as well.
and it only feels calculated because it's so often. And it's like, how does a major company that has like 600 plus employees or something like that, like,
Yeah.
okay,
I'll say this to a lot of people. I've probably written one negative article since I've been at LogNet. I've been at LogNet since summer of 2001. And I'll tell you this, I average between, I'd say, 1,000 to 1,500 views on average per article. And those are positive articles. And don't get me wrong, like if something's negative, like with the Stallion getting banned for the 2 days or whatever, I reported on that and got like 8,000 views on that. But like my best article is over 20,000 views, is about strategy games. A couple Suikoden articles over 8,000 views. And then one I wrote recently had over 17,000 views. So like you can get views on positive.
I like to
you don't
think
have to focus on
that
negative.
the positive
I do agree. We need
stuff
to report all news.
Gets a lot of show and whatnot.
Negative
but just then you said like
positive,
I got 8,000 off of a negative thing, and it's just like to me it just feels like people only want to see drama. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome that you're trying to bring light in such a dark space because it gets mighty dark around these parts sometimes, brother. All right, but the very
Yeah, I'm
last
definitely
question
not
I
about
got
that
for
life.
you for this evening is, what would be your dream come true in all of this stuff, in gaming
Yeah.
in general? Like, what would be something that I mean, obviously you're proud of what you're doing right now, right? And you're proud of where you got. But dreamers keep dreaming. So there's always something else that could be, dope too, that would maybe liven things up for you or just make you that much more proud of yourself. Is there
Yes.
something that Lord Chris has that he would find to be like a dream come true if it were to occur?
Well, I got two answers for that. One is I'd like to see lordsofgaming.net, ILP, obviously become way bigger than they are. We're doing a whole bunch of good things behind the scenes. I can't reveal certain information, but I know certain things that are supposed to be happening are coming to fruition in their future. So look out for those. Stay tuned to that. For ILP and lordsofgaming.net to be self-sustaining, I want to see everybody get the bag, as King would say. Get the bag, eat good. I want to see all of us be able to do that instead of, a lot of people know we work full-time jobs. I work 12.25 hours, and either I write my articles at work right now because I have a laptop, which I reviewed a while back, or I write or work 12 hours, come home, write an article. Whereas a lot of people slave away 14 hours a
Wow.
day. Nicholas Downey, excellent guy, does a lot of public work and safety and stuff like that. When storms and stuff hit, he's
Pitching
got to
a
go out, handle all
game
that,
to
and
somebody,
then comes
that
home
sounds
to try to review
terrifying.
Starfield, which he has a review in progress up on the site. Go check it out. And I plan on within the next 2 years writing the story for a game and pitching it to somebody.
I
Would
tell you
probably
what,
be my
good
two
luck,
big
brother. I
things.
hope
I don't think I've ever
all
told
that you're
anybody that
looking
yet, but
for
that's
gets
definitely
answered
my
for
plan.
you. This has been a wonderful interview with you this evening, Lord Chris. Thank you so much
Oh, it
for
definitely is.
coming
I just got to,
through and
want to get the story and stuff written out and then
giving me a
throw it
good
out to
time
somebody and
this
see what
evening. I
comes
mean,
of
I
it in
know
the
I got
next couple of years.
Starfield right here that I'm about to be hopping into. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I had to give you the full attention and whatnot. The stream was kind of bugging me a little bit, so I'm sorry if it felt like I was spacey at all at any particular time, but I was just kind of double checking our audio and this and that and
I
the third.
appreciate you for
So
not playing Starfield so we can
you
do
run
this.
with the ILP,
Big
dude.
shout
So
out
you
to you,
already know.
man.
You were telling me Lord Attic is having similar audio issues himself with certain things, and I remember listening to his they were talking about Starfield today, and he kept having to mute himself
Yeah.
because he was worried about static and all this other stuff that was going on for him. So yeah, it ain't easy doing this stuff, and sometimes while you're doing it, you just gotta kind of let it fly and just hope for the best. So I appreciate everybody in the chat that came through, stuck around. Hopefully you guys had a good time. Hopefully you got to know Mr. Lord Chris Jones here today. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this interview. I know I did. I hope Chris did as well. But Chris, please let me, or not me, because I already know, but let everybody else know where they can find you. And, I already put your link in the chat so people can go on ahead and click on that. I'll throw it in the chat I'll spam it in there a couple more. Oh, wait, that's not the right thing to spam in. I forgot I copied something else after that. So I'm gonna delete that, and then I'm gonna spam the the link that I got for him for lordsofgaming.net. But go on ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, whether it's just there or if you have several different areas that you'd like. Mm.
Once again, like I told you, appreciate you contacting me out of the blue. I was caught off guard by somebody going out of their way. Like I said, a lot of people don't consider writers a lot of the time content curators. So for you to show that respect means absolutely the world to me. Obviously, I would love to come on more people shows, barring certain times. I know we're on certain time constraints as I'm closing out the show. You can find me on Twitter, CUnit123 Find me on Xbox. Same thing, space between the C and the U. I'm up to play with anybody, anytime. All you got to do is message me. Instagram, CUnit Chris Jones. Everywhere else is either CUnit Chris Jones or CUnit123. Blue Sky, Threads, LinkedIn, TikTok. If you want to see my weird, I do some stupid TikTok sometimes.
Some elbows?
I don't know why.
You
sometimes
drop some elbows?
1,000 views. Watch me eat a chicken wing. I don't know. Slapping my buddy with the tortilla, whatever you might find out. And recently, I made a return to my buddy's.
You're gonna have to send me the link
company.
to that, brother. You gotta have to send me the link to that
till the current storyline plays out, which I think is ending in next August. So if you're into wrestling, I made my return after 2 years of not wrestling this past Saturday. So if you're interested, XCW Wrestling on YouTube, XCW Wrestling 1, I do believe. So I will definitely send you the link when the show goes live for sure. But check me out, message me, feel free. I'm welcome to come on anybody's show. Obviously, lordsofgaming.net. We got a lot of great articles. Nicholas Downey, like I said, has got a Starfield review in progress on there. Obviously, everybody's excited for Starfield. I know Ham Solo is getting ready to play it as soon as I let him go.
And I want to
quote Pong Solo. Like I said, he's been a very important person when it comes to my content creation, as well as many others.
He's a really fantastic guy. I've had
like Pong Soul says, everybody
early
quoting the man himself.
And man,
it's a golden age
he's
of
gaming,
gaming,
dude. He's the same way with everybody, and it's just nice. It's nice. You don't get any kind of like fraud alert kind of things going on with him.
He does.
It's very straightforward. He's honest. He's nice. He'll give you the time a day if you need it. So, I mean, really good dude. Make sure you guys check out Pong Soul if you haven't already. Yeah. But Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure. And if you guys missed any of the stuff that he just said about where you could find him, go into the description below. I have his Instagram on there. I have his Twitter on there.
Yep.
And I also have, lordsofgaming.net on there as well. If you need any of his other information like TikTok and stuff like that, maybe rewind that video because I don't have that included on there. Or go on ahead and I'm sure you could shoot him a DM and ask him if you're really curious and whatnot. But I got some of his information down there. Make sure you check out your boy Chris Jones, Mr. Lord Chris, part of lordsofgaming.net and ILP, the Iron Lords podcast. Phenomenal having you here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. But of course, the last thing that I do every episode is I ask our guests to describe gaming in just 3 words. All right, escape beautiful future. All right, I see that. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening for another fantastic episode of Behind Them Sticks. Make sure you catch us tomorrow for an awesome episode of Bull Sitting. We're definitely be talking about Starfield. I'm definitely doing some recording for that stuff, and I'm going to keep the spoilers out of there so nobody tries to digitally choke me to death or anything like that. I don't want no smoke from the community. I want to just make you guys laugh and make sure you guys have a good day and all that stuff. And maybe you'll learn something watching us, or maybe you'll teach me something because I don't know everything. And sometimes, something slips through the cracks. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode today on TSWS Gaming. This is your boy Ham Solo and Mr. Lord Chris signing out of this episode of Behind Them Sticks. And I'm here to let you know to keep it gaming or keep it moving. Peace out, y'all.